Okay, and welcome to the 34th annual meeting of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore. For those of you that I've not met, I'm John Allen, Chairman of the Board of the Community Foundation. And on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Directors, I just want to say that this is an outstanding representation of our community here this morning. And it's a cross-section of our community that's come together to help us celebrate, and we appreciate that very much. So this morning and afternoon, we have an inspired agenda for you. And to ensure that we have time to enjoy each moment, I'm going to start the program by inviting Mayor Jake Day to the stage to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would stand, please.
Thank you, John. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your service to our country and to our community. Remain standing. I'm going to ask Pastor George Patterson of Trinity United Methodist Church to provide us with today's invocation.
Let us pray, please. Loving and gracious God, indeed you're the one who stands at the center of all of life and love. You give life and you sustain life, and you are the one who knows us best and loves us most. Holy God, we thank you for the wonderful mission of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and how it reaches out to enrich the lives of those in need to build better communities. We thank you for the fine leadership of Mrs. Erica Joseph. We thank you for her gifted and supportive staff. We thank you for the wise guidance of the Board of Directors and all those who provide faithful service for the committees and chair those committees as well. But most of all, O God, we thank you for those generous contributors who give of themselves in gracious and generous ways, living out the biblical principle and truth, that in giving we model the very nature of our Creator, and that in giving countless lives are touched and enriched. Now we give thanks for food for the body, but also food for the soul. May we never lack for either, and always, always, always have an appetite for both. In Christ's holy name, amen.
Okay, you can be seated. Thank you. And thank you, Pastor. We appreciate you being here with us today. So before we move into our lunch service, I have the privilege this year of introducing special guests. So throughout the year, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore works with hundreds of local nonprofit organizations, some longtime partners in the community, some brand new. And Symphony 21 is one of those new organizations. And their presence is impressive. And their mission is to provide youth with the inspiration, opportunity, tools, and resources, not only to pursue orchestral training and careers in music, but also to uplift and empower them to become entrepreneurial leaders. Symphony 21 is led by Daniel Bowen, a product of Worcester and Wicomico County Public Schools, a self-taught pianist and composer, and the creative energy behind Symphony 21. And following the performance, we'll have a few remarks from Daniel, and then we'll begin the lunch service. And then I'll be doing a couple of renditions of my own. And you all are laughing? You've never heard me sing, obviously. So Daniel, I'll turn things over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Privileged to be here. I want to introduce the mini orchestra here. If you just hold your applause to the end. Amanda Collins on French horn, Tim Tholson on cello, Monique Brooks Roberts on violin, Scott Tixier on violin, and Alfia Latipova on violin. They're from Philadelphia, New York, DC, originally from Paris here, Scott, and Baltimore area. Give them a hand, please. Thank you. So it's a privilege to be here. I am a recipient of one of the grants from the Community Foundation. I'm the founder of Symphony 21, director of Symphony 21. This September, we had a chance to visit some elementary schools in Worcester County, and Symphony 21, the 21 in the name really represents 21st century. And so our goal is to really reintroduce the orchestra to the community and to the youth as well. The inspiration from this really came from me being a patron of classical music and going to many shows. And one thing that I noticed, there was rarely young people in the audience. There were rarely diversity in the audience and diversity on the stage. And I was wondering, what could I do to get more young people interested in the orchestra again so it's not a dying art form? And this was born, presenting it in a modern way, presenting it with synthesizer keyboards and backing tracks and visual arts of time-lapse photography. The kids really loved it. They treated us like rock stars. It was amazing. All our surveys were top-rated stars from the kids. And many of them, as soon as we got done our 40-minute presentation, they asked their teachers, can we sign up for orchestra? So that was an amazing accomplishment for us. We also had a free community event at Salisbury University where we took some of this Symphony 21 energy into the community and allowed them to experience everything from electric violin, which Alfia here on the end played electric violin. And Scott Tixier from Paris did some improv, some soloing, and it really just introduced the community. Many of them had never heard of an electric violin. Many of them had never seen visual arts connected with like a multimedia presentation connected with the orchestra. So it was an amazing night, and we just really thank the Community Foundation for helping us support. They were the first to help support us in this cause. We're just getting started, so give yourselves a hand for that. And feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you have any questions or want to know more about Symphony 21 and what our goals are. We're trying to do more school tours. We've been asked by several schools in the area to visit their schools and to do more free community events like this in the area and abroad. So please feel free to reach out if you want to get involved. Thank you so much.
To right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to strive when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. See, y'all didn't think I could sing. I'll be on the agenda next year. So just to let you all know. So we're going to reconvene and begin the rest of our program. Thank you very much to Daniel and to his talented colleagues for that wonderful performance and accompaniment during lunch. Okay, so one of the highlights of my remarks is shining the spotlight on our board members. And I'd like to introduce the members of the Foundation's 2017 board, and their smiling faces are on page 27 of the annual report. These individuals are responsible for carrying out the mission of your community foundation. And I'm going to ask all of the directors to stand as I call your name, and please hold your applause until my name is read. Thank you very much. Tom Coates, Charles Gosley, Morgan Hazel, Velda Henry, Todd Hershey, Dr. Carolyn Johnston, Jim Jones, Andy Kim, Duke Marshall, Kathleen McLean, Jim Morris, Melody Nelson, Susan Purnell, Ernie Satchel, Greg Tawes, Lauren Taylor, Jim Thomas, Mike Truitt, David Voorhees, Dr. Annette Wallace, Dr. George Whitehead, Gail Whittleson, Stephanie Willie, and Dr. Julius Zant. Please give them a hand. And I'd also like to especially thank board members Gail Whittleson for sponsoring the performance today, and Lauren Taylor for helping with the accommodations for the musicians. So please give them a hand. And I will say that this board has been fantastic to work with. They're an extremely patient group of people because they've dealt with me for 2 years. But they have really been committed to the work of the Community Foundation and to making a difference in the community. So I am going to now welcome Jim Allman, our membership chair, to share the committee's report for 2018.
That indeed is a hard act to follow, and I won't even try to sing one of my favorite songs, Runaway by Del Shannon, unless there's an outpouring of... Good afternoon. I have two chores today. One is to recognize our 3 retiring board members. Each one of these folks has served 12 years, given their time being great ambassadors for the Community Foundation and, more importantly, helping lead the foundation through some wonderful growth years and the successes it's achieved. First is Charles Gosley. And Charles served on the Community Needs, Education, Membership, and Awards Committees. He's a kind and generous man, as you all know, and I think his greatest claim to fame is that he was married to a very beautiful lady, both inside and out, and together they established the Charles and Gladys Gosley Youth Fund, which supports programs for underserved youth in the community. Thank you, Charles. Next, we'd like to embarrass Susan Purnell, if you would stand up. Susan served on the Executive Committee, as well as the Asset Development, Awards, Membership, and Community Initiative Committees. Most importantly, she was a founding member of the Community Foundation's Women's Fund, and she serves on that Executive Committee. She's been a driving force in the success of the Community Foundation and has established an endowment that's going to provide annual income to support the Women's Fund for years to come. Thank you, Susan. And while that delivery's made, I'd like Jim Morris to stand up. There's Jim. So Jim followed in the footsteps of his mother and father. His father was one of the founding members of the Community Foundation, and his mother served a 12-year term. If you look in your annual report, you'll see a wonderful tribute to the Morris family, and Jim has been in that tradition. He served on the Audit, Legislative, Community Initiatives, Scholarship, and Award Committees. The foundation has benefited greatly from Jim and from Jim's family service on the foundation. Thank you, Jim. And there is now a Morris family vacancy on the board of directors. So, my second duty today is to tell you about the great folks that we have to replace Charles, Jim, and Susan. They're outstanding individuals. We start with Alan Brown. Alan C. Brown Sr. Many of you know Alan as the former Wacomico County Assistant Superintendent for the Board of Education, and he served in that role for a long time. He says he's retired, but then we move on to what he does now. He's president of the advisory board for Pine Bluff Village. He's on the board of Coastal Hospice, Salisbury Urban Ministries, the Hazel Family Property Foundation, the Wacomico County Recreation Commission, Parsons Home Foundation, the Salvation Army, the Chesapeake Housing Mission, the Personnel Board for Wacomico County, and the Donnie Williams Foundation. Alan is a lifelong resident of Salisbury, and his son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren live in Tennessee. Welcome, Alan. Next, we have Jenny Malone. As many of you know, Jenny was born and raised in Salisbury. She's a well-known and successful realtor. Before she started her real estate career in 2001, she was an educator at Salisbury School. Jenny serves on the PRMC Foundation Board, and she is past chair of the Warwick Community College Foundation Board. She serves on the advisory committee of the Community Foundation's Women's Fund, and she is a member of the Lower Shore Advisory Council of the Girl Scouts. Jenny resides in Salisbury with her husband, Bob, who's here with her today. They've been married for 42 years and have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. Welcome, Jenny. And our third new director is well known to all of you. Unfortunately, she couldn't attend today, but I'm happy to report that Jan Perdue has agreed to serve another 12-year term. She was on the board previously, and she continued to serve on our community needs and education grants committees. Jan serves on the board for the Art League of Ocean City, and she's a docent for the Walters Art Museum in Baltimore. She's a member of the Franklin P. and Arthur W. Perdue Foundation Grants Committee, and she's a past board member of the Salisbury School and the United Way of the Lower Eastern Shore. Spending time with her family and traveling with her husband, Jim, are top priorities for Jan, but I can tell you that when she was invited to rejoin the board, she accepted without hesitation, saying the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore is one of the loves of her life. So thank you, Jan, for agreeing to serve again. Thank you.
Okay, I also want to say that we want to thank our gracious sponsors, noted on the inside back cover of the annual report. We're truly grateful to all of them and to our annual meeting sponsors. Mason Investment Advisory Services, Avery Hall Insurance Company, Bank of Delmarva, BB&T, Blue Water Development Corporation, Comcast Spotlight, First Shore Federal Savings and Loan, Hebron Savings Bank, PNC Bank, Raymond Shockley, Pam and Mackie Stansel. Also, we want to thank Walt Warren of Peninsula Printing for donating our programs, Jackety Cassidy Flowers and more for the centerpieces, and Pack 14 for recording this event, and our photographers Susan Zilfarb and Janet Scott. Please give them a hand. So each year, the chairman of the board has the privilege of honoring one individual for outstanding service to the Community Foundation. When you become part of the Community Foundation family, you realize this organization is about its people, the staff, the board, the volunteers, the donors, the friends that we have, our colleagues in the nonprofit sector. And has been evidenced by Jim Allman's double board service and welcoming back Jan for her second tour, our people just don't leave. The same is true for the person that I've chosen to recognize this year. Our foundation is moving into its 34th year, and this person has been part of our story for 20 years. For most of that time, she's planned and executed this meeting. But she's been so much more than an event planner. Emily Robinson, past president of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, recently shared that as she looks back on her years at the foundation, she can identify 3 things she's most proud of, and I quote, finding the Mason companies, participating with the Purdue Kresge program, and 3, hiring BJ. She has all the natural qualities to become an outstanding community foundation leader. It makes me very proud to see how important she has become to the success of the foundation that we all love so much. Today, BJ leads the foundation's development and donor relations activities and has more institutional knowledge in her pinky than some of us will ever have. Please join me in thanking and congratulating BJ Summers for 20 years of service to the Community Foundation. BJ, would you please come forward? And I also say, we got you. So BJ usually pulls together my remarks, and so it was very difficult to do that without her finding out, so she just never knew. So this has really been an outstanding year for the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore. And currently, because of the continued development of new funds, combined with superior investment performance under the leadership of our investment committee and Mason Investment Advisory Services, we closed fiscal year 2017 with assets of more than $112 million. And our grant making was more than $5.2 million. So congratulations to all of you. Serving as an effective steward of your charitable assets and effective grant making to local charitable causes is the heart of our mission. I will share that TGM Group LLC conducted the foundation's fiscal year 2017 independent audit, and as in all prior years, the auditors issued an unmodified audit opinion, which indicates the financial statements fairly reflect the financial position of the Community Foundation, and it also keeps me and others out of jail. So the comprehensive financial statements are available for your viewing by contacting the foundation if you so desire. It truly has been my pleasure to serve as the foundation's chair for the past 2 years. And I look forward to supporting Jim Thomas as he takes the reins. So now I'm going to introduce our president of the Community Foundation, Erica Joseph. It has really, really been a pleasure to work with her and to work with the staff and to work with all of you that are engaged in making a difference in this community. When I took this position to chair the board, I followed in the footsteps of Melody Nelson, who was an outstanding leader, and I've just tried to make her proud and continue to hold up the banner of effective leadership. But with Erica's leadership at the foundation, we continue to try to push the envelope a little bit, and we try to look at opportunities to think outside the box so that we could really, really make a difference and make an impact in the community. And Erica has stood up to that challenge. She and her team have stood up to that challenge. And I really, really do look forward to the impact that this community foundation is going to be making many, many years after we step aside from the board and step aside from the things that we do. As Erica comes forward, again, I just want to say thank you for your support of me and the board as we have gone through this transition. And I really do appreciate you having an ear to hear what I had to share. So come on up and let's please give Erica a hand.
So I think I'm going to take my son's advice when I think about even remotely singing anything for you and just go, Mom, just don't. So we'll go with that. And I just have to echo John's sentiment. If we all just aspire to make Melody Nelson proud, then we are doing a fantastic job. So I will try not to take too much of the time on the agenda, but I do have to do a couple of things. First, I need to make sure that we properly thank our team. We spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks trying to keep BJ out of the loop on a few things, and if you know BJ in any way, shape, or form, you know that that is not something she appreciates. So I hope you still love us after this. But our team just keeps getting better and better. We've grown a little bit this year. We've had some changes, but they are a tremendous support for me and for our board and for the community. Sharon Dixon, Victoria Kent, Heather Mailer, David Platts, Pat Strasberg, Heather Trader, BJ, and Lauren Zarin, our newest staff member, and Katie Kirby, who's serving with us this semester as an intern from Salisbury University. She's part of the inaugural Nonprofit Leadership Alliance, which we're proud to be a partner of, and we're thrilled to have Katie. So a round of applause, please, for our staff. And I have to give special thanks to G. Williams. It's a sort of running trend here, but he retired from the Community Foundation earlier this year for the second time. We're going to see if this one sticks. And a special shout out this afternoon, because as anybody who works with a nonprofit knows, there are so many volunteers who make a real difference each and every day in your organization. And so right now, I just want to take a moment to highlight one of those people for us. He served with the foundation for more than 12 years as our volunteer legal counsel. Mr. Chip DeShiel, we appreciate the opportunity. Where did Chip go? I had him. There he is. We appreciate the opportunity to benefit from your guidance, and we value the strong relationship that we have with you. We thank you for your many years of service and your commitment not only to us, but the broader community and all you do to help support it. So we have a small token of our appreciation, if you want to come forward and take that. And the great news is we don't have to call Chip very often. In our annual report and on the back of the program, you'll see a full dose of appreciation for the many members of the Community Foundation family who help support this event and us throughout the year. Please also read through the stories and highlights. One thing we're particularly proud of this year is our Generations of Philanthropy. This year, the Community Foundation had 4 board members who were serving following in the footsteps of their parents. And that just shows the legacy and the impact that this organization has had not only on the community, but on so many of us for different generations. And we really appreciate that and their service, and we hope you enjoy reading their stories. I also need to recognize the sacred opportunity that we have to honor loved ones, and we pay tribute to many of those on page 28 of your annual report. This service of helping to create a lasting tribute and provide a common outlet for people to contribute to in memory of an individual is just one of the small ways that we connect our community. Because connecting people is what motivated our founders to start the Community Foundation, to make it easier for people here on the Lower Eastern Shore to help one another. Easier for people to demonstrate their philanthropy, their love for humanity, and their desire to do for others and to provide for our collective quality of life. This takes many forms, but it's driven by a fundamental willingness to share something of value, whether that be financial or time or expertise. I want you just to stop for a moment, and you can close your eyes if you need to, but think of a time in your life where you had to give something away that was really important to you. But I want you to think of a time where giving that away was not hard. It was an easy decision. And think about why. That's when people come to us. They have their why. Maybe it's their faith, Maybe it's an organization that has touched their life, hospice, who's helped them in a time of need, or a human service organization who's helped feed them at a time where they couldn't afford food. There are many different reasons why people come to the Community Foundation, and our job is to help them with the how. They want to make a difference, they want to do something permanent, and we have a lot of different ways that we can help them do that. Very often, this is through creating a fund. You'll see a full list this year of all the new funds that we established on page 13 of the annual report. And you'll also see all the funds that we hold, more than 660, starting on page 29. It's as simple as someone coming to us, a person, a business, a family, a civic organization, and they want to open a fund, and they have some type of asset. It might be cash, it might be an IRA, it might be stock, it might be life insurance. And really, they just tell us what they want to do. We have some common examples of how we do that in our annual report on page 6. But more often than you can imagine, people, when they're finished, tell us, that was so easy. And that's because we work really hard to keep it that way. We share a lot of data in our annual report, and we are very proud of the statistics. The dollars we distribute, the services we provide, and the funds that we steward on your behalf. But the real story is the connections that get made. We heard from Daniel in Symphony 21. I have to tell you, I don't know if it was mentioned, and if so, I want to make sure I mention it now. He's a graduate of Stephen Decatur High School. He wants to be in our community and stay in the community so that he can help inspire the next generation. We had money available to help Daniel with his vision because people like you made gifts to us. A very modest grant is what got them started. And it let him go back into the school that he used to walk the halls and see teachers that used to teach him and inspire kids. You saw the looks on their faces. If you could have been there, it literally gave you chills to watch how excited they were. We're privileged to see connections like that every day, and it's all because someone has something of value and they're willing to share it. We know that when someone starts a donor-advised fund, it makes it easy for them to give. They can support their favorite charities, maybe give a gift to Meals on Wheels. That helps with nutrition, but the key gift is that connection that gets made between the person delivering the meal and the person receiving it. It helps them make a relationship that they can depend on. It reduces depression, it increases their confidence, and it helps them stay in their home longer. We had a Legacy Society member make plans for a new arts fund earlier this year. Sounds simple. Kids will get after-school arts programs. But we know that when kids have access to arts, they get concrete examples of how they express themselves. They learn to appreciate diversity, and they learn how to express themselves and create relationships with one another. When we grant to the Humane Society, they take care of animals. But we know that the real gift is the connection that gets made when that furry friend finds their forever home and creates an opportunity for us to get exercise, to meet other dog lovers. It's all about those connections. I have to highlight our scholarship funds. We work with so many wonderful institutions, Warwick Community College, Salisbury University, UMES, and many more. We distributed nearly $500,000 in scholarships to local kids last year. But we know it's more than just that scholarship and getting to go to school. We know that when kids graduate, they're better educated, they're more civically engaged, they volunteer more, they're healthier, and that's a benefit to our entire community. We connect people through philanthropy and their desire to give. It's why we exist. And I have to tell you that frequently we're given thanks for that work. But that's because of you. So I want to share just a brief sampling of some of the thanks that we got just in the past couple of weeks. We got a thank you from Atlantic General Hospital for funds that they received to help victims of sexual assault. We got a thank you from the police department in Salisbury, who's going to get new equipment to help them keep kids safe. From the Worcester County Volunteer Services, who's going to train community members to be able to volunteer in an emergency. From the Red Cross, to to purchase smoke detectors for families in need. From Symphony 21 for awarding them their very first grant. From local nonprofits who use our meeting space, which has been recently refreshed if you haven't visited. More than 1,800 times we've had organizations use our meeting space in the past 10 years. You'd also hear thanks from Athletes Serving Athletes, who has already raised more than $2,500 as part of their Giving Tuesday campaign, and that event isn't here until November 28th. So while I'm highlighting Giving Tuesday, I want to make sure we have the opportunity to get you all involved, even if that just means by sharing a story of generosity that you have. Delmarva Power, 47 ABC, and the Hershey Family Fund have helped us this year as we get ready to launch that campaign with more than 80 local nonprofits participating. We want to give you just a quick overview of last year to help inspire our campaign for this.
Just like we hope when you walk through our doors you feel welcomed and appreciated, that's the way we feel when we walk in the Community Foundation door.
The Community Foundation does such a fantastic job of promoting and supporting so many wonderful causes. So just for Princess Anne Main Street to be affiliated with those groups of other people and organizations that are doing such fantastic work is an honor.
I've been involved with the Lower Shoreland Trust for 11 years, and I've been involved with the Community Foundation for almost as long. And over that time, as I was learning more about nonprofit management, the Community Foundation was there for me.
I think you're people who truly respect what we do. And I think you show that in more ways than one. And that's important to us.
This year we were happy to participate in Giving Tuesday. We did have new donors, which was exciting, and we were excited to win one of the incentive awards as well for Giving Tuesday.
So you provided the tools and resources and ongoing learning experiences. So I think that helps us keep our game on edge.
I think sometimes people get caught up by thinking that they have to give something large that has a lot of decimal point and a lot of zeros before the decimal point, and just realizing that everything makes a difference. $10 makes a tremendous difference in how far we can stretch that dollar.
So this year I think that the challenge and the interest to create some more excitement of what we were doing got us charged up.
To know that you can support other nonprofits that are doing amazing work, I think that's a really important thing.
No call, no question is too silly or too outrageous. No request is too outrageous. And that's the way the Community Foundation is. It's community. It's, again, a member of our extended family.
I think sometimes you don't have to speak. You just have to be. And I think by that, that's what I feel our people truly have sensed. We can't pretend. There's no pretending. I think the work is here and we've got to do it.
Thank you. I want to thank Jesse Campbell for helping us. He was on location with us throughout Giving Tuesday last year, and he helped put that video together, and also Mid-South Audio for making sure that our AV stuff was in place today. It was new for us, so we appreciate all that they did. Giving Tuesday, again, it is something that is so simple. It is a website, shoregivesmore.org. It's as simple as that. You visit, you share, you see 75, 80 local nonprofits all working together, all cross-promoting, all sharing each other's mission. It's not about the amount you can give, it's about the fact that you can share that information, encourage people. We had gifts from Arizona last year. We had gifts from Florida because people were pushing that out and sharing what people right here on the Lower Eastern Shore are doing. So we would love to have you help to make that investment. You'll see we have so many of our nonprofit friends in the room. Raise your hand if you're part of Shore Gives More this year. Last year we raised $88,000 among all of us, and we know we're going to blow that out of the water this year, so we thank you, and anything you can do to help us spread the word, we appreciate. Now on to what everyone looks forward to, the annual awards for 2017. I need to stop and thank Senator Jim Mathias for sharing proclamations which will be given to each award recipient, but I also want to thank all of our elected officials. I have a list here, but I know it changes in the moment, so I'm going to read it, and if you're an elected official, even if I don't say your name, will you please stand? Delegates Johnny Mounts, Mary Beth Carrozza, Mayor Jake Day, Mayor G. Williams, County Executive Bob Culver, Council President Jack Heath, Karen Lemon, Register of Wills. These are folks who not only support us at photo ops. If you don't work with a nonprofit, you may not appreciate the fact that when you have a challenge, you can call them, and they will sit with you, and they will help us work through introducing legislation, figuring out how to work within regulations that are currently in place, taking information to their colleagues on behalf of the Lower Eastern Shore. They are really true friends of the nonprofit sector, and we appreciate their engagement and their support throughout the year. So thank you to Senator Mathias for the proclamations, and I will start the party by introducing Susan Purnell, who is going to do our Volunteer of the Year award. The purpose of this award is to honor the sacrifice, commitment, and value of volunteers. The Mary Gladys Jones Volunteer of the Year Award was created to recognize the sustained and unselfish contribution of volunteers in our community and the diversity of time, talent, and expertise they share. Thousands of volunteers go above and beyond each and every day, and in presenting this award, we are honoring not only our recipient, but all of our volunteers and the spirit of service throughout the community. In addition to the award, the honoree will receive $1,000 to designate for the charity of their choice.
I think she's a little taller than I am. Thank you, Erica. Many people get paid very handsomely for the kind of work done by this year's Mary Gladys Jones Volunteer of the Year. This year's recipient does not. She used to, but she now considers it her civic duty to give her grant writing experience and expertise that she used to get paid for to the nonprofits that asked for it. Now I got thinking about this. So does this mean when I retire from being a jewelry store owner, I have to give away my jewelry for free? Not happening. This person has raised thousands of dollars for such groups as MAC, Salisbury's Art Space, the Cavallaro and Cleary Visual Art Foundation, the Chipman Cultural Center, the Salisbury Zoo, and I'm sure there's some that I'm missing. And she doesn't stop with just the grant writing. As Marie Cavallaro, president of CCART, says, she is generous in hand, heart, and mind. Her contributions have been invaluable at each stage of event planning and execution of our annual art sale. She also served as a public relations and advertising consultant, writing and distributing press releases. At MAC, not only did this year's recipient write the grant that funded a healing organic garden for survivors of breast cancer, but according to Heather Martin, she was quite literally on her hands and knees digging in the dirt. It was the same story with the Salisbury Art Space, where she promoted events, helped display them, and served as the contact person for the artists' entries. She and her husband have worked many years with Salisbury's Arts and Entertainment District as volunteers. You've probably all heard of the Riverside Craft Market. Well, it was this year's recipient who helped negotiate the site with the city, actively engaged the artists and craftsmen to participate, and was on the site at 6 a.m. setting up, and you guessed it, she was there when it was time to clean up too. Though she never wants recognition, she is the first to recognize the contributions of others with a timely, handwritten thank you note. Now that's a skill that is almost forgotten in this day of email, but having been the recipient of one of her notes, I can tell you this kind of personal touch makes a difference. As one of her nominators, Sue Stein, said, this year's Volunteer of the Year has selflessly, modestly, and constantly worked behind the scenes for years for the betterment of our community. And again, to quote Heather Martin of MAC, this year's Mary Gladys Jones recipient has, just like the award's namesake, Mary Gladys herself, made it her life mission to leave the world a better place than she found it. Unfortunately for us, she and her husband are planning a move to Delaware soon, which isn't too far away, but we will miss having Mrs. Pat Voris right here in our own backyard.
Pat is a joy to work with. We have known her since we are a funder, and she often will write grants to us. We have worked with her many times over the years, and especially on some larger projects in partnership with MAC and others. And the skill and time that it takes to do the work she does, it really is a gift. On to the Nonprofit Award of Excellence honoring Richard A. Henson. Our friend Charles Gosley is going to be presenting this award today. The Nonprofit Award of Excellence was established in 1989 to honor Richard A. Henson for his generous contributions to our community. The organization selected must make an outstanding contribution to the well-being of residents of the Lower Shore by responding to a significant community need, showing excellence in board leadership and responsibility. The list of past honorees is impressive, reflecting the very best that our community has to offer. And in addition to being honored with this award, the organization receives a check for $5,000 to support their work. As in the case every year, there are many deserving organizations nominated, making the decision very difficult. We thank the committee for their time and dedication. At this time, Mr. Charles Gosley, retiring foundation board member and longtime member of our awards committee, will introduce this year's recipient.
Thank you very much. Gee, am I loud? Normally, individuals put their glasses on. I'm taking mine off. The first time we made a visit to this location, the floors were dirt floors. The building was old. There were pigeons galore. But one of the most important things was that there were interested persons and interesting supportive persons involved in this particular organization. Not so long ago, I had an opportunity to visit this facility, which sponsors after-school academies. And incidentally, one of the after-school academies was named after my beloved wife, Gladys B. Gosley. And so this afternoon, it gives me so much gratitude to stand here and to say that this organization in the county, in the city of Pocomoke, and you might know where it is already, has done so much to help those individuals in that community to thrive. Many names have been given to this organization, many titles, many accolades have been given in the form of visionary. I'm trying to think of all the titles that I have. Visionary, instrumental in doing things for the community, supportive in so many, many ways, passionate, industrious, and the list goes on and on and on. I would like just to take for a second or two and just say the organization that I have reference to has a special place in my heart because individuals that have been involved with Title I situation in the school system know that there are a number of students who come from environments, come from home situations that are not as conducive to learning as they could be. And so the academies that have been established, and the academy that has been named in Gladys's honor is one of those facilities, one of those academies that does make an opportunity to allow those students to experience wonderful things. The day that we were there, it was interesting that the presenter had come and he was talking about birds. And he talked about birds in the entirety. And it was so, he shared information about birds that I probably didn't have to know about because I grew up on the farm and I knew about what birds can do and how birds have fun. But anyway, it was interesting. And the children in this particular classroom were utterly excited. So as I think about the Richard Henson Award, and as the committee has spent time evaluating this, you perhaps know right now the name of the organization that is being considered for this award. It is the Delmarva, what is the name of the title? Can anybody name it for me? The Delmarva what? Can't hear you. The Delmarva Discovery Center and Museum. So if there are persons who are in the audience who are affiliated or associated with this particular organization, will you please come forward to be recognized? Yes.
We are so thrilled. We have asked board members, volunteers, we have senators, delegates, county commissioners, donors. The way we are transforming the Discovery Center is it's a three-legged stool. It takes public and private partnership working together, bond bills, MHAA, county commissioner grants, the city of Pocomoke. And then we have our amazing donors and our programs. For you that have not been there yet and that you are not yet members, please come. We're 16,000 square feet of hands-on and interactive space. We are so proud of what we've done, and we are so humbled and honored to win this award today. Thank you very much.
I remember some of those early tours with Spicer around the Delmarva Discovery Center with Barbara Tull and others, and it really was. There were more pigeons than people in there at times. And it is a beautiful facility for our entire community to share, so please visit if you have not yet. Lastly, today, the Frank H. Morris Humanitarian Award was established in 1991 to honor Frank's lifelong dedication to this community and the high ethics, values, and professional standards that he exhibited in his personal, professional, and community life. His philanthropic spirit, integrity, and compassion for others are values that still enrich our organization and the Lower Eastern Shore today. They're values we hold dear and that we want to encourage in others by annually presenting this award to an individual who best exemplifies the qualities of leadership, vision, integrity, compassion, cooperation, and generosity within our community. The honoree will receive $1,500 for the charity of his or her choice. And now, I would like to introduce Mr. Marty Neat, member of the Awards Committee, chair of the Awards Committee, and former CFES board chairman, to share this year's recipient.
I'm going to do a little bit of Bruce Springsteen for you now. Yeah. It is my great privilege to serve on the Foundation's Award Committee and to introduce this year's recipient. Our community is blessed with many giving souls, people who make our lives and our community better. Many people who fit those qualifications are seated in this room today. And I have to believe that Frank Morris, Bob Cook, Tom Hershey, and all the others who first envisioned this foundation can be very proud of what this community foundation has become. Our committee had the pleasure of looking at many candidates for the award. To paraphrase the words of the actor Will Smith in one of my favorite movies, Men in Black, we were looking for the best of the best of the best. We found her. I would guess that nearly everyone in this room knows this lady, a devoted Christian and an outstanding community leader. And it's likely that many of your organizations have been helped in a substantive way through her support over many years. There are too many examples for me to mention them all, but just a few lower shore organizations that have benefited from her extraordinary commitment to volunteerism and community fundraising include the Berlin Heritage Foundation, the Salisbury Zoo, Atlantic General Hospital, Deer's Head Center, the Boy Scouts, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, the Greater Salisbury Committee, the Salvation Army, the Salisbury Area National Day of Prayer Breakfast, the Christian Shelter, Joseph House Village, and the Joseph House Workshop. It is said that the moral test of a community is how it treats those who are least able to protect themselves, those in the dawn of life, the youth, those in the dusk of life, the aged and infirm, and those in the shadows of life, the ill, the handicapped, the poor. It is with one especially magnificent organization, which serves all of these fellow citizens, and through which she has made a very real impact. Her compassion and commitment to those in need in our community led to the creation of an initiative called the Magi Fund, an all-volunteer nonprofit organization that has raised more than $1.5 million for the poor and homeless, including a substantial endowment fund at the Community Foundation. All of those funds are shared equally by the Christian Shelter and the Joseph House Center, the Little Sisters. And despite being an all-volunteer committee, the Magi Fund was a participant in the Purdue Kresge Challenge, and in fact, with her leadership, completed the challenge, the campaign, before any other agency. But it's their annual fundraiser that really tells the story. The Magi Fund concerts have become the highlight of the holiday season for many of our community. This year's will be the 24th. They're packed with local people who are there to celebrate the birth of Christ and support the Joseph House and Christian Shelter with voices raised in joy and song, and contribute to the Salvation Army's Red Kettle campaign too, while the Scouts collect food for those in need. For those of you who are faithful attendees of this event, you know what I mean. For any of you who have not had the joy of attending, this year's events are November 18th and 19th at Wicomico High School, and tickets are available at First Shore Federal if you need them. You will never regret nor forget the experience. It doesn't surprise any of us that our community so greatly appreciates the Magi Fund. It's been honored with the Salisbury Award and the Foundation's Henson Award for Nonprofit Excellence. And it's impossible to separate the Magi Fund from our honoree today. They are one and the same. This year's honoree will tell you that she does what she does in the service of our Lord. I know that is true. But it's important to note that the Lord has given all of us a free will to serve as we see fit. We can use our time, talent, and treasure for our own benefit, or if you're like her, and many in this room today, you use it to serve others. those who are less able to protect themselves. And so it is a great honor and pleasure to introduce this year's recipient of the Frank H. Morris Humanitarian Award, the epitome of a leader, a humanitarian, and a real community treasure, Mrs. Bonnie Luna.
I am truly stunned and amazed because I look across this room and I know that every one of you deserve to stand here and receive this award. I am humbled beyond words, and so I just say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, John. Bonnie gave us a little bit of a interesting thought process yesterday when she called and said, I haven't sent my check in yet. Can I still come? We are so thrilled each and every year to not only be able to share these awards, but to have so many of you in the room to hear the stories of the people that are honored and who do so much to make our community a better place. Congratulations to all of our award winners. We will ask you to assemble over by that signage at the end so that we can get some photos. And I want to just close today. I don't know how many of you know Beth Olson and the Resource Recovery Center, but if you do know her, you know a couple of things. First of all, you know that recovery is possible and that it should be celebrated. Secondly, you know that help is available in our community and it's free. And lastly, you know that she is a darn good storyteller. I will not even venture to place myself in her orbit, but at her most recent Lighting Up Recovery breakfast, she shared a story, and I asked if I could just give a brief synopsis because it seems so fitting for this room of people. It's about an old holy man living in a village on the outskirts. He lived a very simple life. And there was a young boy who lived in town who came upon him one day and realized that he had a magnificent ruby. And he told the holy man, I have dreamt about this ruby, and I have dreamt that I was to find you. And without hesitation, the old man hands him the ruby, just like that. The little boy took it home, and for days he admired it, looked at it, thought how much he loved this ruby, because this was a child who had the most meager of resources and could never imagine to have something so beautiful. But after a few days, he took it back and gave it back to the holy man. And he said to him, young man, why are you returning this? It was what you had always wanted in your dreams. And the little boy looked at him and said, I don't want the ruby. I want to know what you know that made it so easy to give it away. Since you are here today, my friends, I am sure that some of you know the answer to that. And so I just want to thank you for sharing your gifts with us, with our community, and for sharing your time today. So be well, and we will see you next year.